Fatah faction, which controls the West Bank, says decisive measures will be taken against Hamas, but he didn't elaborate. Gary Cox, SBS World News.
Fiji's main opposition leader, Sitiveni Rabuka, has been cleared of breaching financial disclosure laws by the country's High Court 2 days ahead of the general election. SBS reporter Hannah Sinclair was there as the decision was handed down. Hannah, what was the reaction from crowds there?
Well, quite emotional scenes, Janice. Hundreds of people were gathered outside and indeed inside the courthouse, Fiji's High Court there. We saw people hugging, crying, breaking out in song as the news broke that Mr Rabuka has been cleared of those charges. The High Commission, the High Court rather, throwing out the Corruption Commission's appeal case against Mr Rabuka. He had been accused of failing to properly disclose some of his assets for electoral purposes. But now that legal cloud that had been hanging over his head in the lead up to Wednesday's vote has cleared. He will indeed be running. Calling on a higher power in perfect harmony. But it's what divides people in Fiji that's troubling members of this congregation. SODELPA leader Sitiveni Rabuka courting the Indigenous vote. His party tapping into insecurities about land ownership and widespread claims Prime Minister Bainimarama's government favours Indian Fijians and Muslims.
It's far from united. We've been polarised. You cannot unite the land by depriving the indigenous people of their rights. You can't do that. You cannot unite us by just giving us freebies.
Land ownership has long been a divisive issue in Fiji. It's what led Prime Minister Bainimarama to launch a coup 12 years ago. But it's not the only matter dividing the parties. This half-built, Chinese-owned skyscraper dominates the Suva skyline, soaring far above other buildings here. Mr Rabuka warning that Fiji needs to diversify its investment strategy to avoid the ramifications of what's been termed debt trap diplomacy.
We continue to encourage investors to come in. It is the loan from the loan monopolized by one loan source, which is unhealthy in the sense that we may become too reliant on the source of our funding for development.
Analysts also closely monitoring Beijing's desire to expand its military reach.
So what we don't want to see are commercial facilities such as ports and airports suddenly becoming Chinese military bases in 5, 10, 15 years' time.
Voters grappling with more immediate issues today. SODELPA supporters gathering in jubilant scenes.
Now I'm so excited. Glory be to God.
Wishing their vindicated leader well. What would you like to say to the people waiting here and waiting to you?
I want to say thank you to all of them.
Thank you.
Thanks for their prayers.
Prayers answered just in time. The timing of this appeal judgment had been criticised for being handed down just so close to the election day, and people really were watching it closely. As we left the court today, people were leaning out of their cars and asking us which way did it go. So people really have been watching this very closely, and his lawyers, his legal team outside the court also said that they're elated with the news that it's finally over, that they can get on with facing the election on Wednesday.
Thanks so much, Hannah Sinclair, updating us on Sitiveni Rabuka being cleared by the High Court in Fiji. The Muslim community has expressed its disappointment at comments made by the Prime Minister and the Home Affairs Minister that it should do more to stop incidents